Hey guys, we are from Team Illegal Danish, and we're making this recording to basically sum up our experience of Berlin Springfest Team League. And to begin, we are a group of Danish Vanguard players, and we are making this video just to tell you guys how we felt about the event. So, we have a list of topics that we're going to go through, and the first one to get out of the way is our way over here. Some of us have participated in many different tournaments, and for example, Jonas right here, and then we have Asker right here, and another guy who's sleeping in the other room, Jonathan. They have participated in 4 team leagues?
At least, yes.
Yes, and could you tell me your first experience with Team League? Like your way on the way there and how it was for you.
It was kind of chaotic because we tried first time trying to buy a tower bus ticket and all, but it seems it was a day later when we were participating. So we came really late at night.
Yeah, I actually think our first one was in Sweden, like maybe only a few days after our first Danish national. We got a participation. We got participated into that, and I remember we had to like get tickets immediately, and we were luckily we were able to get a train, but it was pretty expensive. And yeah, as my friend said, it was extremely chaotic. It wasn't really the best trip, honestly.
No, we tried to sleep in the bus. We couldn't sleep.
Hey, sometimes chaotic's better.
Yeah. But we managed to get to the tournament, and we played against different decks. For example, I think one of them I played against as a police player, who with a combination of 3 different archetypes.
Lol. But which era was it that you?
I was in the middle, so I was probably in the B section.
But
oh no, but in like what the character booster or booster box?
It was when Grand Galop first was introduced.
Not in G, I think, before, right?
Grand Galop, no, that's G.
Our first trip in Sweden was when, with Blasted Dog and Blasted Blade.
Oh yeah, that one. Oh, I can't believe I forgot about that one. Sorry about that.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, that one. That was. Let me see. What the fuck was that?
I remember you played the Phantom.
Yeah, I
Phantom
played
Blaster. The Phantom Blaster deck.
Majestic Blaster.
Jeez, that's a long time ago.
And I remember I still like played the Grand Blue. What they had that time, that Limit Break.
Kakaitis, I think it's called.
Yeah, Kakaitis, like using his right chain support to like do what I could with a random thing.
The third guy we had with us, he played New Nature, right?
No, it was actually Colony.
Oh yeah, Colony, yeah.
Lol.
I forgot his archetype, but he did pretty well, and we actually scored a 2nd place in Denmark, which got us to Sweden. But we didn't really do that well.
Nope.
Though we did beat the team who won the tournament, but
yeah,
I guess that's a plus.
Feels bad, man.
Feels bad.
Feels bad, man.
So, for example, for my first experience, because it was actually your second and the guy who's sleeping, second team league experience, it was in France. I was completely nervous the first time I was in that big tournament.
yeah, that happens.
But I quickly shook it off after I lost the first round, and it just went like easy breezy from there. But it's also you guys' first experience outside Denmark Team League event.
Yeah, it was my first Team League event outside of Denmark.
yeah, the day here in Berlin.
Yeah, me too. I haven't even played outside of Denmark.
This guy's first big tournament.
Big tournament in general. So.
So could we start with you, Jen?
Yeah, I had a great time. It was fun. I played against all the kind of different stuff. It was fun.
Should we mention your second match?
No, let's not. let's not talk about that.
All right, then let's go for yourself.
Well, I can say that one of the things I was actually most nervous about was before the tournament even began. Lots of these guys could just go around with our binders and trade with other people and talk. I was so nervous, most because of the other players and how the matches would go. And I didn't have my binder. I don't leave it like it's a 2+2, so it's not that big, and there are not really high rares in it. So it would be really awkward if I just went to a guy and be like, "Hey, can I look in your binder?" And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, can I look in yours?" So like, I don't have one, and then they just have to wait for me.
Like I remember your first binder when you came over to me. It was just filled with commons and rares.
Yeah.
Also, I remember how nervous you were even after the tournament. You wanted like to go over and like be that innocent young boy want to try and be together with his hero, but instead you actually just wanted to go over to some other players and ask if you wanted to play. You were scared. You were scared.
I wanted to play against other people, but I was too scared to ask them. But I was actually surprised that people were so nice because I'm usually just playing with people from Denmark and I know them. But sitting against someone I don't know or I don't know what they're playing, at first it was more like try to keep it more professional. But the atmosphere was so cozy, so I was really nervous my first match. But after that, I just went with the flow and like Theo said in his tournament, the first was not so that good, but then later he just wrote it out. Like it's really easy to join the community, and I like that people are so nice. It was nice.
Like one example of when you play when you play with another player from another country, or rather a person you never experienced playing with, is a word in Danish called hygge. And I would say that like it's cozy, it's fun, and like it's just a Danish thing. We just like that.
It's like in English we have the word also for most of the things, and hygge is just like for chilling and
comfortable.
All of the nice words just in one word.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. Next we have basically our experience with the event, of how it was organized and when we were setting ourselves up and everything, and
Here in regional Berlin.
Yeah, and also when we were looking around, because some of us was actually scouting out the competition. And especially let's start it off with Jonas. With how he was, because he was starting around the event like a madman.
What can I say? I had a huge binder with lots of stuff I want to sell. Seriously.
Yeah, but how was your actual experience? And this goes for all of us. How was your experience with the organization and how the pairing was handled and everything?
Well, for my case, I must say it was pretty decent. It kind of reminded me of any tournament I was being in and such, and it was pretty interesting and chill.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah. Then we go to you and then the rest.
Yeah.
Well, this is like maybe my fifth, sixth tournament so far, and honestly, I actually just been to a huge Yu-Gi-Oh regional here in Berlin as well. So honestly, being from a high place to something a little bit small was actually more comfortable for me. Though I had to get started, and when I got to train with everyone and see actually the players in the competition, I actually ended up being more comfortable than I was in the last tournament I was in. So honestly, it was good. Of course, there were the point system you can always change. I felt like it was supposed to be different, but I feel like the judges were nice, the players were nice, and the games were overall, there wasn't really anything like bad playing or sad players or anything.
Oh yeah, now you mentioned the point system, because in this event, instead of using a score system, they were using points to collect of who won.
Wasn't it the 3 points for those who won and
0 for those who lost?
Yeah.
And there was no draws in the entire event.
Yeah.
as far as we were.
Well, no draws is like a good thing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
but it's kind of rare to get draws, but they do happen sometimes.
They do happen sometimes, yeah.
Yeah.
But my actual experience with the event, I knew the head judge and I only knew the head judge, so that made me feel comfortable. But like scouting out the competition, I just was like looking for whatever decks there were and how it was. But definitely having the head judge there that I knew made me feel a little bit more comfortable around. Of course, when we then came into the tournament and it started proceeding and so forth, like it was a really fast-paced tournament.
Yeah, it was like match. Then there was like what 5 minutes
10,
break?
15 minute break.
15 minutes break.
Yeah, it was a
I
25.
think it was 25. Yeah.
Yeah,
25 minutes.
25 minutes
Yeah,
Swiss.
25 minutes rounds. And
Yeah,
5 to 10 minutes breaks in between.
Best ever one, of course.
Yeah,
yeah,
of course.
and it was a 6 round,
Five rounds of four.
Yeah, because we were only 19 teams and not the 8 or more, or not the 20 or more.
Yeah.
Damn you missing players.
Well, I mean, it's another topic that we're gonna get into.
Yeah.
But then we can go to Jin about his overall experience of the event.
I felt like the most of the guys I played against was like very nice, and in general the organization was pretty good in my opinion. Like it's pretty straightforward. Like the matches was set out straight, and then overall good stuff.
Like just as an off topic, because we know that you also were a Yu-Gi-Oh and maybe still a Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, I
player.
used to play Yu-Gi-Oh. That's good.
Yeah, how is the organization compared to the Yu-Gi-Oh format?
Like in the regionals, and like I was in Yu-Gi-Oh, it was like very chaotic because there's so many people,
Yeah,
and there's like we had so little space in the most times. Like I had to like wait 5 minutes for like in line so I can even see my matchups sometimes.
yeah.
No.
So also very it's very nice just to like look up at the big screen, and
Yeah,
you can see your
because,
team number, and
Yeah, wasn't it because mostly Yu-Gi-Oh they just set up and
they put up a piece of paper on the wall.
Yeah, like for example, when we did our team league in Germany, they did the same.
Oh, they did it.
Yeah, because because the weekend before they used the same building, but for Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why they were using that kind of format.
That's stupid in my opinion.
I mean, I like the big screen.
Yeah, I like the big screen.
The big screen was really.
I just don't like when it just hang up a piece of paper and yell out, "There's pairings."
Yeah, exactly.
That's stupid.
I mean, it makes everybody feel better. Now we go to the last guy.
Yeah, the newest
guy.
player.
Youngest player among us.
Well, it's actually kind of hard to compare it to other events because I haven't been to any. So, but
how did you
what?
Oh, sorry.
No, but I know some of the things I was happy for. There was enough space, and it wasn't too warm, even though we were a lot of people. That was comfortable. I thought that the judges was quick. When you had to raise your hand, they would be like, "Oh, I noticed you. I will walk to you when I'm done here." It was one of the things I was nervous about is that the screen was in at one wall, and the players were sitting in front of it. So some of the players were sitting with their backs against it. And I remember the first rounds I was sitting so I could always watch the timer. But in one of my rounds I sat without watching it. And I began to think, oh, did I use a lot of time? Should I look back? Oh, but is it would my opponent be mad if I looked away or something? So I remember my opponent, I said it was my first tournament, and I was having a good time. And he said to me in one of my, it was my last turn, he said to me, don't look at the screen because you got enough time, so you don't have to be nervous. And it was really nice of him, I remember. There wasn't much else. I would like to have the shop also stay there at the end of the tournament. I remember me and my friend was going to buy booster packs before the event, or before the tournament began. And we will buy more later, but the shop was gone, and me and my friend was kind of disappointed about it. But yeah, it could happen, but that's just a little.
But also,
swing.
since it's your first big event, how was it compared to like one of the regular shop tournaments? Because those you've been in plenty of, honestly.
Yeah, you play
Yeah, that's actually an interesting topic, how it does compare.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, first of all, there's a judge.
You multiple judges.
You don't have the well. I saw this on a video, so it must be true. Argument, and I've heard that sometimes, and I just try to tell them that no, that's not how it goes.
That's
And
true.
just because you've seen it in a video, everybody can make mistakes. I did mistakes too. We all did mistakes, but it can happen, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's one thing I actually don't really like, because in other card games, sorry for interrupting,
No,
but like in Magic, you have an official judge. In Yu-Gi-Oh, you have an official judge in tournaments, even shop tournaments.
Yeah.
But like Body Fight and Cafe Vanguard,
The
and
smaller games.
the smaller games that are not so big. Like, we don't have anybody there to confirm if we are like true or not, and they can actually go with us through everything.
We have to like figure it out on our own.
Yeah, exactly. And even those who play, who are there as organizers, like they have experience from past games, but some of the effects don't really act as the same. They have elements from rulings from other games.
Yeah. I remember my friend. He's playing Great Nature. He had a judge friend from Philippines, and he said they had a turtle Giga. And there was a ruling about if it got power to draw or not. It was a kind of one-way situational. And in the Philippines, they said yes, you are able to draw. And he asked it in the English format, and the judges said no, you couldn't do it. So they're not consistent about what is right or wrong. I remember the tournament too. Asker was playing Dominate. And they have the grade 1 and grade 2 that gets plus 5k for every dominated unit that attacks.
Got a picture here.
He was going to the ring, so there was 2 riggers attacking their Vanguard. And the judge came and said they only give plus 5k once, because the dominate happens at one phase. And I was
instead of 2 different separate.
Yeah. We normally say it's plus 10k, because you choose which one to attack first. And we were just kind of surprised. So after he told me, I was beginning a new round. After the end of the match, I raised my hand as I came to the judge, and I asked them if I use Mujin Lord, if they have 3 regards. I have 2 of them in the front row. Will they only give 15k plus or only 5k plus? And he said, I think it's going to be 5k plus. And then I mentioned to him, in the effect of Mujin Lord, it says in the parentheses, you have to choose 1 to attack each at a time. And it made him nervous. It wasn't my intention. And he said he was going to research it further. So that's just like one of the assignments that everyone can make mistakes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, judges are humans.
Yeah.
But the one keyword that I would rule out is that if it says each, then it would mean that it procs every time.
Like,
1 attack, 2 attack, 3 attacks, then they come to proc. It's not like simultaneous. Because you don't really simultaneously guard 2 units. You have to guard 1 at a time. So I would say that they do get 5k for each attack. That would be my ruling, but I could be wrong, Bushi. Please don't sue me.
Please don't take that on our video.
But honestly, also that's a little problem about something like Vanguard, the smaller games, because we haven't really got all that ruling out yet. I mean, probably a lot of great judges out there. I mean, I don't know anyone personally, but like I know many in Yu-Gi-Oh here in Denmark and such, but we don't really have that many qualified judges here in Denmark, and because of that, we don't really how could I say, have the experience having judges or knowing most of the rulings and such.
Exactly.
And of course, once again, I'm not saying judges can be absolute; they can make mistakes and such, but we don't have an updated system on how there's some few rulings of some few topics, and for example, that would dominate, because that was really important.
Bushi, I'm ready for the judge program,
no,
please.
you're not.
All right, I think it's time to move on. So, for example, before the actual event, we did a little estimation or expectation of what we expected in the different blocks, because in Team League there's A, B, and C, and right now there are currently 3 or more decks that we expected to come to be there. For example, we expected Gear Chronicle, so they're Time Beast. And Giza, that's the other one.
Giza no shows, to be specific.
Exactly, and Coral specifically, or
Bermudas.
Anji actually.
Anji's better than Coral in general.
I know, but Bermuda is then less.
Bermuda in general.
Bermuda in general is pretty good.
Then we also Nupatama with with Dominate.
And then Victor
Yeah.
as well. That's
And no
Nova
grappler.
Grappler.
And Nova Grappler as well.
yeah, Victor's.
That's 5 already. And then we have Oddmile, or generally Royal Paladin.
Royal Paladin's still pretty powerful.
Pretty powerful. And then there's a couple that I would like to go into.
Yeah.
But first off, we're like, and then were all of these kind of expected during the events. Like like for me personally, I see that there's more diversity than in previous team leagues that I've been to.
Yeah.
Because there's now like 6 or more clans that can actually be evenly with everybody, because there's no such thing as like multiple tiers, because simply because something is called tier 1 doesn't mean that anything in tier 2 cannot beat it.
Yeah.
Because it's as I say, is a game of skill and luck, like with all card games.
Yeah.
But like it really depends on the person who's piloting it, and like subsecting different decks into different tiers just doesn't really make sense that much if you take it into this kind of format.
Yeah.
The decks we weren't expecting so much, like one of them I would say would be Gurgwit.
Gurgwit, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Definitely
yeah,
also
yeah.
like
That was a
Ares.
surprise.
Like when I went up against it, like I played it and you played it.
Yeah, it was the same player that played
Yeah, we
against
played
us too.
against the same player, and I was really surprised about the deck because it wasn't really that pressuring.
No.
Also, even though G decks are known to be explosive at first turn, this one was just meh.
Yeah, Gurgwit really isn't an explosive deck.
No.
I mean,
It's
it was kind of when it came out with the new stripe, but it just didn't really follow it that much up compared to the others.
Yeah.
Well, sorry for the guy, because he wrote a PG and was great stuck in the turn, and at grade 3 he was able to strike, but he didn't have a grade 3 or strike fodder. He could drop cards to strike.
Yeah.
So like I killed him at my first strike then. So I wasn't able to actually learn what kind of cards he played. Maybe he went some Chronomancers for the meta. I couldn't know, but it would be surprising if he did, because not Gear Chronicle. I'm sorry. Gold Paladin has the option to do it. So yeah, I didn't experience the deck in action.
All right. So moving on from Kirkwood, the next deck that we weren't really expecting was Deeplease.
Yeah.
That was really
Like I went up against it, and I can say that having 130k hitting your face without a perfect guard is really brutal.
Might hurt just
I
a
vouch
bit.
for that.
Feels bad, man.
And the thing is that no Laurel. He beat me without Laurel. Well, that was surprising. But in that kind of deck, you kind of don't need Laurel.
You don't need
No, in Cosmic Era you don't run any
Because
law.
you already reached that by yourself.
Yeah,
and you
yeah,
can,
exactly.
Feel like 150, 80, like, oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, another matchup that or another deck that we weren't really expecting was Hari. Two players.
I saw 2 Hari players in 2 rounds.
Yeah, and one of them was actually in the top 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
I lost against.
Yeah, we went up against that team. You guys did as well.
Which one was it, like, inherent
the
B or
Gurgwit,
B?
the one with the team where Gurgwit.
You played against the Geese player.
Yeah, I played. We don't talk about that.
And the Penguin player was in the A block.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which was a very wise choice, especially with what decks were in.
It was a wild card.
Yeah,
And it worked.
and it worked.
It was aggressive and it could run around a lot of different combos.
Yeah, because most of the decks in the A block, they have really. One of the weaknesses that they have. They're like, if the opponent has an explosive first strike, they have a hard time to regain all the resources, so they could be able to be killed second strike. And Harry was actually one of the decks that could set up for that, mostly because they have the high number of attacks. And the Harry Strike that came out, it can give passively power to the units. So it was kind of ramping the power from the first strike to the second strike. And that's one of the things that I don't know if they were trying to go for that, but it was a good strategy as the A block players. I must say that.
Yeah.
I must give them.
Power and combo alone, also the fact they can literally run around combos. And for example, against Nuatama I I attacked with only one of the dominated, and he landed another unit on top of the other that hadn't attacked.
Mhm.
With,
And that is skill
Gunner?
playing. That's literally like Grand Blue,
Yeah.
with Magia.
Mhm.
Wasn't it the G guard?
Yes, it was the
Yeah,
D
George, you got the call something.
I think one
Yeah,
of
there's
the
one. She has 2 abilities.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
I think one of the matchups that it wouldn't go so well against would be Dominate, because Dominate in general, the strike can make so much pressure, so they wouldn't have enough resources to actually guard it. And I know that Pale Moon players want to have their regular circles open, because they have the effects to call from the soul and use the can only to guard it. And when they only have the units on the field, sometimes it will be problematic. Maybe if you needed the on boost effects, it could just ruin their formation. So it was kind of tricky. I could imagine to play Pale against the dominated.
Well,
got
wasn't
the
there?
other
Well, that
Oh.
was probably one thing he did to make sure he had not enough resources against Rene. Wasn't it the star he used?
He used the sword constantly, landed on top of things, put it into the soul, kept drawing cards.
Oh,
They gave him the
Yeah,
huge
that's-
Haven's Collector, right?
Yeah, it's Happiness Collector.
Yeah,
It's a combo where if you're up against Rene, I will probably do the same if I play that. Just constantly get cards enough to at least be able to counter Rene.
Yeah.
draw soul charge and call something.
You got at least 3
No,
cards.
no.
If it's she's called from Soul, right?
If she's on the
it's not-
field and if another card gets called,
Oh,
You can shove her back into
and the
Soul.
thing is you call quite
Yeah.
easily.
oh, okay.
But I know that he was a good player and he could play well.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Next on to the next wild card or clan that we did not expect. Swing Command.
Oh, sweet command, good old sweet command.
Why we're mentioning it is because the guy, our friend who is sleeping,
Our 13 mate here.
yeah, our 6th guy who's sleeping right now.
He's a lazy fuck.
How we knew about it is because he actually lost to it.
He played it himself. He knows the matchup.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
he should have a good matchup against. That's the funny part.
Yeah, exactly.
Like he was the resist force against the
Resist
control.
force.
Like that's like he should win, but he said that he was grade stuck and such, and only had
Correct.
and he didn't have any of his grade 2 units. He
Yeah.
only had the grade 1s, and fathers really likes their grade 2s because they have really good effects.
Mhm.
So
That grade 2 is basically the power ups and such.
Mhm.
And
yeah,
arguments.
and restanding too. So I could imagine it being hard to kill this commander, but like, come on, man.
and I'm guessing it since there was no grade 2, half or maybe 75% of his powers got off.
Right with you.
Mm.
Yeah.
Because Narcon still has like the retiring.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
They still have I don't remember its name.
What you mean?
The flipping G guard.
It's fine.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the
Yeah,
one,
honest.
the one that retires.
Yeah, but it shouldn't be a problem because he has resist to his
Yeah, but
builds.
he didn't. He
Yeah.
didn't.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to the last one, and this is actually a direction to the to another video where they're going to be discussing their experience of the event. Is the Spike player.
Oh, wait.
2 Spike Bros, but
Yeah, but this Spike player, he actually made it all the way to the finals
Yeah,
without being defeated.
He was in the champion team.
He was his team won the entire tournament, and he was playing Spike Brothers, and I have to say kudos to him. But he was also playing in a block where they were expecting this one guy or this one clan to be there.
B slot, right?
The B, he was in the B block, and he was playing Spikes, and he was then gonna play against Gize. He was thinking.
Yeah, because they have such high power, they can
Yeah.
just keep
Yeah.
pulling stuff out their ass.
building more power on it.
What
But-
was his team player like? What was that?
His 18 player when he was playing with Tama. He
Ah.
played against me match. We fought against him in the
Yeah,
second round.
and their third teammate was the D police guy.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting team, I say.
I would say pretty interesting, but definitely the Spike was the one that pulled off every single game. Because Spike is such a wild card, but it just works.
It's such an explosive deck. It can literally almost kill anything.
Like, on first strike, if people say that G decks have an explosive first strike, you haven't seen Spikes properly. Like, seriously, if you're up against a Spike player, you can get killed first strike.
Yeah.
Just like that if you're not prepared.
And if you are prepared for the first fight, then they will probably set up for either the GBA combo.
And
And
that's
usually they
the-
also might want to like first strike the GBA because they can like
Yeah.
they can little fuck on the G guards. Because they can search their heal triggers, both the starter and the jelly beans.
Yeah, but there's one little weakness to Spikes.
Yeah.
For example, I noticed in his champion matchup, he was playing against Oddmile,
Yeah.
and he couldn't get to GB8, and he had like 5 G card. What is it? Face up G cards or G cards. And I was like, wait, how did this happen? And then one of you said, well, then he might have been very pressured.
Yeah.
And makes sense. This Oddmile is brave.
Yeah, and one of the things is that his I saw some of his build and talked to him. Just it was a small talk, but one of the things I noticed is that his deck was surrounded of the GBA combo, so he wasn't like trying to get the Miracle Ace combo off if it wasn't go so well for him. And the GBA combo used cards from your hand, and if the opponent is pressuring and there was an Oddmile, like if the early game was pressuring and the Fiddis stride is also pressuring, he couldn't have enough cards in his hand to go to GBA and make a good turn because you only run GBA. That's what he told me.
There was one interesting scenario at the tournament, at the that match that basically decided the entire thing, because I was sitting next to what happened. And basically what was happening was that the Oddmile player had a fetus stride out with the, place another card, otherwise it will hit.
Yeah. There's 2 cards right.
Yeah. The thing is that I looked at his hand and the board and the power. He could literally not take any more damage, and he was on 5.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't guard everything with the defeated skill.
Yeah.
But then one thing that happened what I saw was that the power wasn't distributed properly in one of the columns.
Mm.
So that meant that he could actually guard the last attack and then go to Piccolo and just finish the game.
Mm-hmm.
That was, I didn't even see that because I wasn't participating in it, but that little difference was enough to basically swing it into his favor. I think he will probably go into more detail of what happened, but
Link in the description.
link in the description and the annotation.
Definitely a frightful deck and never should be underestimated.
Exactly, but also shows you that even in Vanguard, that little bit of a difference can really turn the game.
As far as the micro
Like just like 3K, just 3K. That's enough to turn the entire game.
It could have been like 24 to 27. That makes a difference.
Yeah, that makes a difference. Exactly.
Yeah, give me 22, 27, 26, but yeah.
Not against my deck though.
What you said.
Now that we've gone over that, the next topic that we're gonna cover is basically everybody's matchups.
Oh no.
But we're gonna go over it one at a time.
Oh no, the matchups.
All right, then we'll start with our team, which is all 3 of us here. We don't have the last guy, but we only have his.
Insert him here.
I know what happened to him. I could pretend to be like him.
Yeah. Okay. Sure.
break.
All right. I'll start with my matchups. So the first round, I went up against Gear Player. It's like almost a standard deck to our teammate Jonas. He was also playing Gears. But he was playing one grade 2 that I wasn't really expecting, because usually you expect the grade 2 8K that sends a unit back to the bottom, the one that you can use in the early game.
No.
Caribou.
But we all know that card. I'm basically gonna show it here,
Insert image here.
not in front of my face, but sure.
Oh, sorry. Boy,
What he was using was the resist unit, the one the grade 2 that gets power.
Yeah.
The one that gets power and resist.
Yeah.
It's a pretty okay card, but I'm thinking that's a little bit too slow.
But I wasn't really pressured by it because he didn't send my starter to the bottom.
Yeah.
Which was definitely one thing why my game with him lasted so long. Eventually he survived all my attacks with 2 perfect guards and 3 G guards on the Ultima Stride.
Is it Chronicle?
It's Chronicle. I mean, it makes sense, to be honest.
Welcome to Gears.
Exactly. I mean, kudos to him that he actually got all that to guard with me. And he did a heritage. I was like, I have 7 cards left because I expected it to kill him that turn.
Yeah.
I was like, that's game. Second matchup, I was up against the D-Police guy that we were talking about. As I said, he swung the first time with 120,000. Then he swung the second time when I was 5 damage with 130. I had 3 G guards. Still couldn't block it. Well, with all that power, G-Gas doesn't matter.
Brave peak in a nutshell.
Yeah,
Basically.
basically.
PG me or you die.
Yeah.
Unless, of course, you activated the stand trigger.
So I lost that matchup, so I already was 0-2. The third matchup, I went up against a Coral player. He wasn't being very aggressive. He was playing like whatever happens, happens. But I thought I could really get him there because he has seven cards left in hand when I asked him, and I had the chance to go into Ultima. But what happened is that I thought I could really kill him because I was only seeing 2 heals and of course the 1 PG, and I was thinking, well, I might get him because I knew the 5 of the cards, but I don't know the last 2. So I went into Ultima. But eventually what happened was he had 4 heals in his hands and 1 with the perfect card, and he only had to take 1 of the hits that I could make with Ultima.
Feels bad, man.
Feels bad.
Yeah,
Well, it can happen. Like,
It's Vanguard.
it's Vanguard, but I was, I mean,
I
I don't really get salty, but something like that, just like that,
Kind of BS.
even Asker was done with his match, and he was sitting next, and he saw my turn with the Ultima and everything. I did everything that I could, but then he dropped it because he had like, what was it, 2 cards or 3 cards left in hand, I don't know, but I think 2 cards. And then what happened there was that I swung with the last guy, and it was 33,000, and he was on cross right, so he had to get like 20k shields.
At least.
At least. So I was thinking the unknown card might be like a PG or something, right?
yeah, he got a trigger in the damage. So he only had to got 20k.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was like, yeah, and but then he dropped the last G guard, and I'm like, oh my god. I was seriously, I don't get tilted or anything like that often, but that was bullshit for me.
I was closing to go get a judge and ask if that guy sacked or something because I almost was unreasonably lucky there.
Yeah, it's like I thought I really had him, but I mean, I guess a loss is a loss.
Yeah, that happens too.
Yeah.
Sometimes BS overcomes the game.
Welcome to Gears.
Yeah.
The fourth match, I was up against a Nubatama. It was actually a pretty standard matchup. I had experience with it, but the one thing that happened was maybe a reflection of why I think G-God is a little bit stupid. Because when I was playing up against him, he was striding first, and I G-Guarded twice, used the flip G-Guard and the regular G-Guard, so I had GB3, and I strode into first stride Ultima. My opponent had big eyes, and he was like, "Oh shit!" He was on orc, and he was also on 3 damage, perfect, ideal for Ultima.
Yeah, no, full turn, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I won that match. Like that was the first time that I ever like strode first with an Ultima,
Yeah.
and that was bonkers.
Feels good, man.
Feels
He was
good.
very good.
Feels
It's
very good.
very cute.
And then 5th round, I was up against Gurgwit, and I won that. And the funny thing, what happened in that match is, we both G-assisted.
Hey.
But the thing is, we both whiff at the same time.
Oh.
But but the thing that happened was that the next turn after my G-assist, I placed my main clone, drop a grade 1, draw 2, and my baby.
Wow.
I drew Luar, the one guy I was missing.
Yeah.
But he had G-assisted the second time, and he found his grade 2 because he was stuck on grade 1.
Oh.
Yeah, and I was on grade 2. So that really, like, he was far behind. He couldn't get in front. Like, already there, it was already a 1 game. But, yeah. But I ended up being 2-3.
Nice.
Now, let's go to Asker and his experience with the tournament.
Well, overall good tournament. Well, except for our team didn't get through, but hey, but my first match was a Coral Anji deck, I suppose. It had a Coral engine in it. I had some experience with it, so I was pretty comfortable playing against it because I trained with my good friend over here.
My boy.
And I thought that this could be, and I drew my cards and I thought this could be a really, really hot round. I mean, I hadn't really trained that much with it, so I wasn't exactly comfortable with it, but the opponent, like, he said turn. He didn't ride grade 1 at all, and he was like that for at least 2 to 3 turns. And then in those turns, I just did everything I could, just hit him so hard that he couldn't like do anything.
He didn't even use it, or?
He used it like 3 times, nothing.
Oh
And
wow.
when it finally actually was 8, and the third year is finally, he got it, but it was a per PG, and he couldn't do much.
Wow.
And when I finally went into a grade 3,
Boy.
I attacked, and I almost filled my board just to be sure to kill him, and he guarded it, and he guarded it for the trigger, so I could like only want to pass, and I got a crit, and it was game for him.
When he actually went up to where I was playing, and he was saying that he got crystal, but I didn't know it was that bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was really horrible. Honestly,
He was probably the most unluckiest player I've ever heard of.
Yeah.
yeah. And you get hit by 4 heal tricks in a PG.
I mean, we're both in the same boat, I guess.
But anyway, yeah. So I won that match. Second round, we won it. We went against a team, as said, who won the whole tournament. It was a mirror match, and honestly, it was my turn to break a little. I got the most of my right chain. There was just a little miss on my grade 3s. I don't know what it is. I used it twice, and one of them was hitting my damage zone. So yeah, so.
Feels amazing, man.
And we came to that point where you could strive while I was a grade 2. So.
Oh yeah, the new rules.
The new rules.
Yeah.
New rules.
But the funny thing is that even though I was like at 5 damage at that point, and I finally got my grade 3, by the way. So I strided after GSS thing, and I strided, and because of Genkai, I was able to actually get through and actually gain like 4 cards to my hand, and it was amazing. I got more and more cards, and actually the opponent had like nothing.
Yeah, he has a pretty good card.
Yeah, I love the card. It actually helped me. I ruined his formation, and he was also like at 4 or 5 damage. I thought I could maybe do this. Then he drew, and he could stride, and yeah, he brought 2 cards to my field, and I like had 2 cards which I removed, like any 2 cards, and I could like guard the rest. And I had no G guards left because I used all of them, and all of them there was guns like that.
Did you notice anything that you maybe learned when you played against the winner of the tournament that played?
I figured out that I probably gotta have a 7th grade. It was a bad idea to have 6 grade 3s in deck.
Exact more grade 3s.
I'm probably gonna put him the 7th one in from now on, maybe more, just to be sure. You know.
No, just play 4. You'll get them one time.
I'm not Lord.
You're not Lord on those shields, so don't even try it.
Else, it's hard to say. I mean, he was a really great player. He also played some cards I never actually like seen typical players play. He actually played a unit that says that when I actually got one of the attacks he dominated with, I got damage. I got a heal trigger. He played a unit that says that when my Vanguard goes back to 11k. So I lost all the power I got before, and he could just proceed with his combo. It was actually a really good play.
That's
I think it's called.
yeah.
I don't know what I can't remember his name, but honestly, I actually consider that tech. He actually gave me some interesting ideas for the deck.
That was actually a really funny tech because
And honestly, he also played stain triggers, which actually helped him more like improve his attacks, but it didn't react. And I was doing a say stain trigger back, and I used Metsu to take a card back, and it was a bind card going back to my hand, so I could return that card to his hand. So he like literally almost countered me. So yeah, I should probably not have taken that card, but else that I think I couldn't really do much else. I mean, it was pretty close. He did well, and I respect him for it. Third match, I think it was another mirror match. This one I actually won because I actually survived his attack, his first strike. We both strided, but like first, and I drew. I used the skill to draw, Sanki's skill to draw. I had exactly enough to stride, but I had to call 1 because of its skill. So I like just went balls and attacked, and he had drawn really shit for his last 3 checks, and I got a trigger and I won luckily. So yeah,
trigger for game.
Trigger for game. And fourth one was a Anji player. The fourth one was an Anji player, and he played really well. Though honestly, his games were a little off. I don't really know how to say it, but he kind of made a minor misplay that actually lost him in the match because the restander, I don't really remember his name. Yeah, he attacked with his unit. I took that damage, and he attacked, and he got a stand trigger. And I don't know if that was actually the problem, but he standed it, and he had to like take those cards back to restand and stuff. So he actually lost the potential in another attack. And that actually made the difference because I actually had enough to actually start my next turn with. And he had like, normally you would like, stereotypically, have like 6 to 7 cards in hand at least.
Yes.
And
Yeah, sometimes.
and I'm sorry I'm saying this, but it's a golden rule for at least every Bermuda player. They have to at least use all their G Guardians, or at least have 40 heals in hand. Just like my friend and myself.
But boy, Bermuda can G guard 8 times total.
And
they have a break 2 that counts as
But,
a deal.
he like used all his G Guardians, and that actually won me the game because he had no heals left and no resources to guard. So I actually just killed him with the rain with GBE 3.
Yeah. So regarding to that with heals, I'm just gonna say hashtag Bermuda things. Your fifth match.
Yeah, fifth match was against Pale Moon. One of those who came in top 4, and honestly, really annoying playing against. Honestly, I actually thought I could win this. I actually had a good shot at it, but honestly, he made some combos that actually just removed some of the other potential attacks that could have hurt him. Dominate once, so he would G guard the one dominated attacks, take the G guard ability, take a clear card from the soul on top of the second one that hadn't attacked yet.
Yeah.
So I would lose a potential like at least over 21k crit attack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 crit attacks. So yeah, I couldn't do much, and he got his go to his second stride, and he would just win balls. He could say he could like recede it, and I didn't draw enough triggers to recede.
Balls to the walls.
I could probably have won if I at least had gotten a PG and a heal, but I didn't. I couldn't do anything. He played well, and there was nothing really to say.
But the table.
But in the end, I won against both Bermuda players. I won against one of them was pretty sad about it. Sorry. One the Nuatama. I lost to one Nuatama player, and I lost to Pale Moon. But honestly, it was good matches, and I learned from it. So I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you ended with 3-2. So now with Jonas in the potentially most toxic block in the entire tournament.
I was in that block too.
In the B block.
I was in that block.
And I say,
yeah.
Well, let me say, the first match was Gise.
You have it.
No. Stop it.
I was up against Gise. I tried to rush him down. It seemed it worked a little bit because he wasn't really that lucky with his draws. I think I saw more stands than draws, so he didn't have much hand. But and then he did get all the triggers for binding all of his Seraph Dragons, and he was ready to go into Gise the next turn, like already.
You got the setup.
Yeah, all the setup ready. But I ended up getting a crit trigger, which I did not put on my Vanguard, but on a Rearguard, which I could use my specific stand trigger in Gear Chronicle to restand it and attack again. And then he tried to use one of his abilities to draw no shield, the Great Free one.
Yeah.
He tried to use it as its ability because he used the Great One to guard.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he was really unlucky. All the no shields he got was the Great Free One.
Oh.
And he had
no shield things.
So he did guard the first attack with the crit and all. But then when I attacked again, after I saw what he actually got, he had 3 cards. 2 of them was Great Freeze. I had to hope he didn't have a 10k shield. He didn't. So he lost there.
so you won with a crit ability there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the next one was the Spy Brothers. I sadly did not have much info and experience against them, especially the GB8 combo with all the drawings and so I tried to do my best and see what I could do. Though I never really got to Heritage because he got to GB8's the second strike.
G-God.
Yeah, so I died because he had around like 11 attacks after 2 attacks.
That's fun.
So I was like, okay, yeah. So can you just say I'm dead?
Can I guard this? No.
Yeah, I know for my entire head I only had 1 G guard. One heal trigger to G guard. I was like, and no PGs. Yeah, I spoke with him and he said it was fine, so we said scoop. So
Yeah.
since it will just waste time.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, in GBA, when the day came out in Japan, you would see that when people tried into the GBA, people would just go immediately. It was just like the WinCon, like an Exodia effect. Just put it on the Vanguard, and then people just say, "Go, we go."
It's gonna take too long. If
But also to say with that, what is it? When it came out to Japan, there was actually one deck that could disrupt it in its combos. It was Griffin and Defeat Flare. Those were the only only G-Guards that could really disrupt it. But there's one thing catch about it. You had to use all the G-Guards.
Yeah.
And literally, when it's that GBA, you have to have 4 heals in hand in order to stop it.
Also, isn't the Defeat Flare only Vanguard and Vanguard?
Yep. So, yeah, it really depends, but it also depends on the scenario. But as I was being told, is that the only way when it came out, the only way to stop it is to have 4 heals in hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought it the same when I played against it. Yeah, that is the only way to do it.
Yeah, I tried my best to at least burn his hand down, but sadly he drew and drew and drew. So
Close but no cigar.
Yeah.
but
You know what his trigger lineup was?
I didn't see a single crit.
Yeah, usually
They usually mostly what I saw in the whole game was draw triggers.
Like, mostly, like,
Did
I
you
think...
just stand maybe or?
I don't think, I'm not sure if I remember correctly, I don't think I saw any stands.
He actually had maybe up to 2 stands because he actually had one in the top 8. In the finals.
Yeah, he was the one that was in the finals, yes.
Correct us if you're wrong.
Well, congratulations to him. I think he was a great player, and he was also very nice. So we talked also a little bit about how to counter. Though I don't think I remember it all, sadly.
Oh, moving on. The third round.
Yeah, the third round. Well, the one and only Giese again. But this one was a little bit different though compared to No Shield Giese. This one was actually Revelation Giese, which was
Regalia Revelation or something. Regalia Revelation.
I don't think Regalia and Revelation work together in general.
No, and I don't think it was Regalia at all. It was some grade 3 I've never really seen any Genesis player use. So
remember what it does?
I think it was doing just Revelation mostly. It was kind of like a Maruda where you place her, I think, and you could watch the top card.
Yeah, it might have been an Escagado, if I recall.
I don't know what it is. I've never seen it, so it was kind of new for me which card that was. But then again, he was quite lucky with his triggers, I think, and that was before he even used Revelation. I think I saw 2 triggers already before he even used Revelation, and then as soon as he used Revelation, 2 more came, and then the last one came when he did the stride.
Oh.
And then he was going to Giese. I had no chance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you lost that round.
Yeah, sadly, since my rearguards can't even go up to 30 or more.
Yeah.
Anyway, for the next one was Chaos Breaker. It was an interesting match. He seems a little bit nervous, in my opinion. I'm not sure. And he seems he played it fine. I tried to counter it mostly by playing rearguards in the front row, so he couldn't use the 8k beater to count us 2 and play something in the front row. He did fine for a while, and then he locked all of my rearguards, like 4 of them. Well, and that was okay, I think, for me, because I felt like, it was kind of hard to not attack him. So I tried doing a bit different strategy, trying to go into Heritage as fast as possible, and then try to use Gear Next after that. It worked, since he didn't have thought I used 2 times Gear Next, so he lost to that. The last round, Giese again. Congratulations, Giese. But yeah, this Giese he did use a no-shield build as well, though some cards I didn't see many use, which was the Great Zero card. What is it called again? Yeah, that one. Which was the Shadow Elemental Beacon.
May I see?
Yeah, sure. It basically just blocks your standards.
Yeah, and that was the thing though, since I'm mostly using Gear Next to counter Giza because Gear Next is the only one that has power enough.
That's actually not bad.
Nope, it's not. And you can fetch it from the damage zone with the no-shows. So.
Yeah. Anyway though, but he was really scared because he was really nice to play against. And I could see when I was doing my heritage turn, because that was the very last turn I could ever do since all of my Gear Next was actually already finished because of that card. All of them, I couldn't hit them. So, when I tried to do the heritage, he didn't have many cards. Like, I think it was 5 or 6 cards.
Was he on Giza at the time?
Yeah, he was on Giza.
Okay.
Well, then I was on Heritage. I tried to attack him first time with everything I got, and it didn't go well. I didn't get any triggers at all in my first 3 drive checks. So, but I think he was a little bit scared about that because since there was no triggers, the chance to get a trigger will be higher.
Yeah, I agree. I remember the next one.
Yeah, so I tried again, and he tried to block it, and I think it was 1 or 2 to pass, he had to say. But I only got 1.
So it was 2.
So you didn't, and you also lost most of your triggers and damage. So
Yeah, I did get 2 triggers, but it was 2 different drive checks. So
Yeah, 2 different turns.
yeah, so I couldn't do anything about that.
Yeah.
I had to place it all on 1 rear guard, and in hope, since I had Mary Black Dragon in as a booster and a whole field, to hope maybe I could get through his defense.
Yeah.
Sadly, it did not. I got to 39 with that on a rear guard, but sadly he had enough to got the last attack.
so you lost, unfortunately.
Yes.
And your overall score is 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So our team, in general, went 2 and 3 overall. I mean, we learned a lot, especially about expectation in terms of blocks. And if we, for example, said that because Asker was playing in A with the Batama, and Jonas was playing Gears in B with the Gear Chronicle, and then I was playing Luard in C. But then there was a little discussion about if I was swapping to B because of the Gise possibility, and you swap to C, that might have probably...
That might have been a thing, because
That might have been the thing.
has quite a bit of Giza counters.
But it was also a consideration that I hadn't played the game for quite some time.
Right.
So it was like, it kind of makes sense to put me in C.
Yeah.
Also with the Luard deck, because Luard is, well, good deck, but cannot win every matchup.
And it's not like super difficult to wield, so you can like
Yeah.
jump
So
into
I was a little bit surprised I met many Giza players actually. I was thought maybe after I met the first one I will not meet 2 more after a while, but sadly I did. But well, then again, that's how it is sometimes.
Yeah, we just didn't analyze the
How
blocks
many
properly.
pieces was there? Like, how many pieces was there?
I asked the head organizer, and we both made the estimate of about, because they received the papers, but they had just not seen them all.
Yeah.
But he and I, because I said that I remember seeing 6, but he said, nah, I remember seeing 8, so we can say about 6 to 8 Giza players in total.
Damn.
Yeah, so
I'm surprised I only ran into 1.
Yeah, but 6 to 8 teams had Giza. That's
like almost half the team.
Yeah, that's like pretty scary. And
So I must say though, I was so close, like this close to beat the last Giza player I was up against.
yeah,
And he was breathing really deeply, like he was in really running like through the stairs
Like-
kind of thing.
yeah, exactly. Because for that team, if they won, they get to top 4.
But if
But if we win, we wouldn't make it to top 4. So we made basically the fight a lot harder, because I won my match, Asker lost his, so it's all up to Jonas to try and win it.
yeah, I tried my best, but
To be
hey,
like Giza,
what can
it's
happen?
hard.
That
Yeah, I know. But we learned something. So now going over to
We can't say that, but
no, I know. But we're gonna move on to the next team and their matchup.
Oh boy.
Team budget Angie.
Boy.
Team budget Angie.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford Andre.
Yeah. Should I?
But no, you had Gise.
No, I couldn't afford Andre, but I could afford Gizai.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had Chorus because
I'm not
well,
funny.
Angie's too difficult.
Pretty good.
Yeah. Anyway, now yourself, your matchups.
I don't remember. My first was I against? Yeah, it was a Dark regular. So in the first match, it was pretty basic. I didn't get my right chain. That's not a new story.
Just renew things.
Yeah.
Just coral things.
Just coral things. And I remember one of the plays that he did. He called two of his grade twos that checks one of the grade twos was the succubus that checks the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
He got the word target, and you know word target you can count as 1 and draw. So he got +1 and shuffles the deck. He then summons the demonic executioner, checks top 7 for you with darkness ability, also gets a word target. And
All the word
so I said to him like he said to me he said to me I was pretty lucky, and I said to him it can happen, like it's my first tournament, but it's fine. So he shuffled and he already got +2k, +2 cards in his hand. I was like, well, this is gonna be difficult. I remember his next turn on grade 3. He had his succubus in the front row and the Vanguard, and he attacked with the rearguard first and then the Vanguard. He got a critical trigger. He gave the crit to the Vanguard and power to the rearguard, and then he got the stand trigger and the stand and gave the power to the rearguard. And I was at 2 damage, so I took 2 damage, and I only had a 10k shield. So I needed a defensive trigger to guard the rearguard. I didn't get any, so at his grade 3, I was at 5 damage. And I told myself it's like try to be calm down, like I should just try to make up for it. So I did my core things, stacking power, gaining pressure, and a lot of attacks. And what it went on about, he got the G-Guard and Balan first strike with the great GB3. One of the things I was surprised about, it was my first tournament, so when he chose not to activate the effect of to soul charge 2 face up in the G-Zone, and then he called a Castile, and then he asked me if it's okay. He checks his soul and he asked me, is it okay I take it back to my hand? And I wouldn't want to be rude. I know that it's not like it's a professional play, but I said it's fine, you can take the Castile back to your hand. And then he asked me if it's okay. He now then soul charged from his activated ability, and I said to him, oh, you're just looking for the grade 2 that can get +10k and those grade 0s. And I said to him, that's not fine. I have a problem with that because there is a skill phase skip. And I, well, in the end, I survived to his last turn. He only had 4 cards in his soul, or in his deck. He was trying to kill the red, and I was at 4 damage. I was afraid of the crit because I didn't only have 1 heal back in my deck. He attacked with his rearguard, and I pre-fired. Basically, I was really nervous because like it was the do or die turn. I should just take the damage. I didn't, and I should because I intercepted with 2 of the grade 2s because I couldn't guard with the grade 0. I intercepted with 2 grade 2s, and you know you can intercept with the Gilded Ray. That was my fault. And when he attacked with it, I just said no guard, but I just realized that I did a big mistake, and I lost the game. So that was my first loss. I was quite nervous that I would lose the Oma games. But at my second match, I got against the Gurgle player that Theo also placed against. I told earlier that he was grade stack and couldn't strike. So and my deck has a big grade 3 track. So I finished him pretty fast, and we just talked and chilled, and he was a pretty nice guy. So there was much to that battle, that match. The first round was gear. I remember my opponent. He had the top 4 playmat from London regionals, and I asked him if he bought it or he won it, and he said he's been to many tournaments and won 2 in top 4. He went to top 4, and I was pretty excited to play against him. It was a pretty skillful match. His first strike turn, he got the triple trigger, a crit, a stand, and a heal. And I was like, it's okay, I'm only at 2 damage. At my turn, I got 2 stands and a crit. Very skillful. And at his turn, he went to the restanding gear next. He got, with the 3 checks, he got crit stand and nothing. And I PG'd that attack. And when he restood, he restanded and attacked again. He only got 2 checks. I was a 3 damage. It was only 1 crit. I said no god, because he was already been through 4 to 5 crits. And when he drag checked, he got 2 crits out of 2 checks. So like, he said to me, it was pretty disgusting. I said, I'm used to it, so it's not a problem. And my skills made me the 6 damage heal and survived the turn, and I killed him next turn. But he did a play I actually was surprised about. I didn't see. It involves the starter in the bind zone, because it has the effect in cat. You can discard 1 card from your hand to add it to your hand. What he did was he discarded his PG to add it to his hand, then activated the PG's effects from the drop zone, because he already had another one to bind it and then add it to your hand. So he just gained a 10k shield, and I haven't seen someone do it before. So I wouldn't say it caught me of surprise, but it was a nice tweak he got. So the 4th game was Thanos. I remember being great stuck at grade 0, and he had Tidal Assault at grade 2 on his Regard Circle, and he had 3 grade 2s and used them in the front row. It was quite pressuring, and I couldn't guard it. I didn't get a defensive trigger, and on my turn I drew grade 1. It was the Strike Father. I wrote it. Nothing much. He wrote his fathers, and one of the things I was surprised about is that he ran the grade 3 version of fathers. If you know that one, there's a grade 3 version of it. 10k.
I need to remember his name. I don't remember his name.
Grade 3 version.
There is it's a 10k with
grade 3 version of Tidal Assault.
Oh, Tidal Assault. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry.
I was like, yes, there is a grade 3 version of Father.
That's true.
Yeah, so he called that, and I was quite surprised because I don't see many fathers around that. But a lot of the attacks made me like. I remember I got a heal trigger, and that helped me on the turn because he didn't get the trigger. And when it was my turn, I ride and stride, and I was trying to keep my best to have an okay hand because I know I wouldn't be able to get all of his attacks, so I just needed luck. There wasn't any strategy behind that, to be honest. I was in a pretty bad situation. Yeah, that was basically it. I just died the next turn. I remember him, I think he got it once or twice, and you could say it's unnecessary, but it was a sure kill because he Alexandros me next turn, and it gets plus 5k to the unit's stance for every face of card in G zone. So the last game, it was a Spike Ross deck. We were at I don't remember our score. I think it was maybe. What was it, 2-2? I don't remember.
Our final lineup was I think we went 2-3 in total.
2-3? Oh, okay. Yeah. We were 1-2. No, we were 1-3 because we won that, right?
We won
I think
that.
so.
We won the last matchup, yeah.
Yeah. So I just the guy was memories. I remember him getting double crit at grade 3, and on his strike turn he got 2 heals and a crit. And I just said to him, he was like, oh sorry, yada yada yada. I just said to him, it's fine. I've been triple triggered 3 times in this tournament, so it's nothing unusual for me. And he just began to laugh.
skillful.
Yeah. And it was funny because it can happen, but it happens more to me, I think. But it might be only my experience. And I killed him the next turn. I don't think his build was done because I think it might needed some more of the new cards. But that would just be my personal opinion. But he had a bigger hand. It could be he played GP8 but didn't get any of the heals. But his strides made him look like he was trying to kill me instead of setting up for the GP8. So I was like, "It's you just put the cards in the soul and kill yourself slowly." Because I got the grade 3 on my Vanguard circle, and I get the plus 2k. So his attacks were easier to guard, and he has multiple attacks. And the plus 2k has a really big difference when they make a lot of attacks. And then he had maybe 5 cards at the beginning of my turn, and I said to him, "I think you're pretty dead because I got 2 stands in my hand."
And with that, you eventually just killed him with your next assault.
Yeah, that was my first try. It was a fast game, to be honest.
Basically, you didn't need triggers to win that game.
No.
Especially with the amount of cards he had.
But I was at 4 damage when he was at grade 3. It was pretty scary. But I just remember, I always think that when people crit me with 2 crits, I always get 1 heal. And I only thank God for that because I would be pretty bad if I didn't. And in the end I got 3-2. And like I kind of said to myself that, well, if I wasn't nervous or maybe be more prepared to my first tournament, I could go 4-1 because of the dark regular mistake I did. But I did go 3-2, but I will hope that next time I get 4-1 or maybe 5-0. That would be pretty cool. So.
So that was Joseph. Now we're gonna move on to Jin's matchup.
Oh god.
And what were you playing exactly?
I was playing the most boring deck in the game, aka no Shilagise.
Boy.
I'm saying that too. Boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Yes. My first round was against Hari. I basically just wiped the floor with him. He couldn't do much with 1 damage. Like, I surprisingly played against a lot of decks that couldn't do much with 1 damage, so that was good for me.
Mm-hmm.
The second round, I don't want to talk about this. Let's skip that.
Please, no.
God damn it.
What deck was it?
It was a mirror match.
Oh,
And that's not funny.
How does a Gise mirror match exactly happen?
It's awkward as fuck.
Alright.
You basically try to damage deny your opponent while trying to get dry checks yourself.
Yeah, very. It's pretty much a dilemma matchup.
Basically.
Yeah.
And then he made a big mistake of attacking with his Gise. He went to Gise first. He made a big mistake with attacking with it because I got the 5th trigger to get my Gise out.
Yeah.
So I would actually have lost if he didn't attack with it.
Yeah.
But I would have lost anyway, so it didn't matter because I tanked out first.
Oh.
But yeah.
Okay.
Third round was against an Anjay. I don't remember if that's the same team as you guys played. I think it might have been.
Yeah.
No,
they
it
had
was
a
a key
chaos
player.
player.
It was a
No, in the third round we had a Bermuda that was Coral.
Ah, right. My bad. Yeah. He steamrolled me. I couldn't get my triggers. I couldn't get my guards. He double G guarded into Tira and then correct me because I did not play the I don't remember his name. The beacon back in the tournament. But he wrecked me. So that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
Fourth match, I went up against the Victor matchup. 30k base. You can't really do much against that with 1 damage. He tried very good. He did a good effort in trying with the Park Champ and like restanding everything, but it just didn't hit high enough.
Okay, I really have to use a lot of combos, the heavy combos.
Yeah, you have to use a lot of combos with a heavy like multi attacks.
Yeah.
And you have to get very high to hit me even. So. And the last player was the Blaster. He made a lot of mistakes. He was like a shoe-in. Like their team had 2 players and they wanted a third, so he's like, sure, I'll come in. Then like he made a lot of mistakes. It was a pretty easy win. So in the end, I went 2-3. No, not 2-3. 3-2.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So the same as Joseph, which means that the last guy in the
The guy
team,
who's not here.
he actually went because you were in B block,
I was in
right?
B, yeah.
You were in C,
Yeah.
and the last guy, Jonathan, he was in A.
I'm surprised I didn't run into more geese.
Yeah, I know. But his first round, according to my notes here, he went up against Novatama and won. He
Yeah.
was playing Falas. Interesting.
I can tell you that I talked to him about the matchup. He said to me that he was prepared to lose against Dominate because they would be more aggressive than him. And one of the reasons that he won was that his opponent was Krista, and he got a crit at the early game with the Thunder Assault. So yeah.
And if I recall correctly, his opponent got like 0 or very few damage triggers.
Yeah.
So that was an easy win.
Yeah, he didn't get any defensive triggers, so that he said it was pretty much an auto win when he got the crit.
Deck.
Yeah, how was that day?
And second round, he went up against a Pale Moon Hari, right?
Yeah, and that too. His opponent was it was the explosive first strike. His opponent got the first strike, and because it was more explosive, he had to guard with a lot of his grade 2s. And because he had to guard with them, he didn't have them in his hand. And he was, I believe, he was grade strike too.
I think so, yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, that's when you have the GSS, like it's pretty hard hit for the fellas.
And for the third round, he went up against the one and only Gise.
Surprisingly, in the A block.
Yeah, exactly. The only Gise guy who was in A block.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Might be more, I don't know. But how did that go for him?
I
Exactly?
don't know actually. I didn't even know that he went against the geese. So
But I think I saw some of the matches. He went up against the Gizeh. The Gizeh play had like 2 or 3 draws before grade 3,
Ooh.
and then he kind of just like snowballed from there with all the more draws and and then he couldn't get over.
Yeah, 30k against Aquaforce.
30k against Aquaforce. Have fun.
Yeah, exactly. So he lost that one.
He lost that one.
Fourth match, he once got up against Gear Chronicle. And do you any of you know what happened there?
Don't actually watch the match because I was too absorbed in my own one.
I think it. I remember he had one game where he said he had 2 heals in his hand, and he had to Jesus with both of them, just to have units. So because he had an empty field and his opponent ranked the grade 2 that puts kind of bonus in there. Yeah, so like that was pretty much all of the lose from too.
Yeah.
So he basically got screwed.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. And then the fifth round,
Oh,
the
boy.
one matchup that we did not, and the one deck we did not expect to be the Sweet Command.
And for me,
I'm sorry, my friend, but you that happened. I'm sorry that happened.
But the funny thing is, he, as a Faust player, lost against the Sweet Command.
He should have the best matchup against any kind of control deck.
But the only way he could have lost that was breaking.
Which was what he did.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean.
So like in the end results, it's like he didn't expect to win against Dominate, but he won. And like a control deck like Sweet Commander, he was supposed to win and he lost that. So
I mean, it kind of makes sense, as Jonathan in a nutshell.
yeah.
So that was basically everybody's matchup. So your overall score was 3-2.
Yes.
None of us made it to top 4. But
2-3.
Yeah, 2-3.
no, 2-3.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
We both went 2-3.
Yeah, Jonathan went 1-4. Rip.
For a terrible player, Kappa.
Oh, shot fired.
Boy.
Yeah. So after that, like, what? Then it comes to the next topic of what do you guys feel like the overall feeling about this entire format or meta in general?
I played a mean deck. I had fun.
Geese.
Yeah, say that to the other players. You bastard.
Yeah. But what do you guys feel about the actual format? Was there like are you satisfied with it? Are you like mad about it? Like what is your first impressions of this kind of format or meta?
I will say it was pretty decent at most point. Some of it will I probably say is a little bit ouch. Yeah, but then again, it
Yeah.
Out of personal experience, one thing I did, and it's just saying a little out of line, but I always kind of feel like the G format was a little too focused on just generally Gear Chronicle. I know it was like a main deck for the MC, but I just didn't like the fact that it grew so much potential and so many things and such, and now it just got laced. But in the end, actually, it became decent. The format in general, as we see, there weren't just meta decks here. There were increasingly so many different varieties.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's really that was. I'd say honestly, this is one of the most healthy metas and formats I've seen in ages.
Yeah, late GBT 14, early.
And the top and the top spot actually just proves the point.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like from my personal experience with like I only played this game for a little over 2 years. I would definitely say that this format, like, of course, Kise is stupid and annoying, but you can play, but you can kind of play around it. That it's not like an auto. It's not like an auto win when the person plays Kise. But one thing that I really like about the format compared to any other format I played, for example, when I started out, that was the first GPT-01.
Yeah.
And there was only like 3 really good decks there, or 2 top decks.
2 or 3,
Yeah, like OTT and Kagero.
Yeah.
Mostly.
Yeah, the Legion.
The Cross.
Yeah.
Like right there, you already had the meta to go off.
X/N, then like Susanna. Who's
Exactly. And Gear Chronicle, as Aska said, that is so focused, but in GPT-01,
Gears was garbage.
Gears was almost non-existently used.
Gears only became good after GPT-04 because next stage.
Exactly. Because we discussed like what do they need? A restand. They got a restand, now they're broken.
Also because they were more controlled kind of bit.
They controlled like rewinding stuff.
But the problem was with that, though, it kind of gave just resources back to the opponent.
Exactly. It wasn't like because the kind of control that they had was sending cards back into the deck, but it wasn't like control as in retirement like Kagero.
Retirement like
with Narukami, because retire and bind for most of the clans you kind of get it back, but for like getting back into the deck, like most decks can be like, oh, I either draw it or recruit it from the deck. So it wasn't like better control per se. It was awkward control, but then when they got like power and more more attacks and so forth,
and more like toolboxing and control.
Exactly, a
lot more different combos now.
Exactly.
I'll just say this: GPT-05 broke Gear Chronicle.
Yeah, exactly. And then when you look at like let's say the meta when we went into Team League in France, like the meta was basically before G-Gods.
Yeah.
And what we were.
What was it like? It was like set 4, 5, 6 ish.
I would say 6 to 7.
No, because between 6 and 7, G-Guard were.
Oh yeah, so then it was probably 6.
Yeah.
And then, but mainly you had Chaos, Shadows, Royals, then Grand Blue. Those were the top.
So that was like between G6 and like the G-Guards introduction.
Those were the 4 decks. You had Chaos, then you had Sanctuary Guard, and then you had Revengers with Raging Form, and then you had the Night Mist. Those were
Night Mist, Night Rose,
but mostly Night Mist. But those were the 4 decks that you were going off, right?
Yeah.
But then when you get here to this tournament, there are more than 10 decks that is viable.
And I did not run into a single double. I ran into 5 different decks.
Like, yeah, exactly. For me, I ran into 5 different decks. Sorry.
And there were 2 even like Tulu I believe.
Yeah, he had 2 mirror matches, but it just shows that there is diversity.
Yeah, there is diversity.
And I also chose a meta deck, so it wouldn't be
that's
that
expected.
Yeah. I mean, even though you choose a meta.
Well, you should have played Bloom. That would be great. I should have played Blue. I would kick that Gize's ass.
Yeah, but in my opinion, it's a very diverse meta. You can almost play almost anything.
And you'll do great.
Depending.
Yeah.
Like there are some decks that cannot really handle other decks, but if it really has a powerful combo
and has the right player,
go for it. But that's basically my spiel about it.
Yeah, basically.
So what do you think about the
Like I like this format. Like it's great to see CG come to an end. Because let's be honest, last year's set was a horde of power creep.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, every new set there was a new meta. Like I was not about that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But it's nice to see to come into an end, and with the reboot, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, which is one of
Yeah.
the points that we're gonna get into.
Yeah.
What do you feel about this format, Joseph?
Well, I was happy that Bermuda got so many toppings at tournaments
Mm-hmm.
of the character boosters. So I was I couldn't test. People were testing against my core build, but I couldn't test like against other Bermuda Triangle builds. So I was going to be happy to check how the matchup would be. But I didn't meet a single Bermuda Triangle player. I asked, got up my courage to ask one at the end of the tournament, but he said that he was too tired. But yeah, feels bad, man. So, but just in general of the meta, I think that one of the two things that I was quite scared about in the Chronicle and the Dominate matchup was that they still had the manipulating your opponent's field in their battle phase, because let's be honest, if a lot of your turns rely much on both your front row and your back row, and they have two options, Hellhound and the other. So
That will be Chimera, yeah.
I will be glad to.
But no one plays Chimera.
No.
It's garbage.
Yeah, true. I will be happy to maybe see some other kind of hand trap, because I think that maybe not that it's too strong, but it has such a big impact, and it isn't such as a normal play we see as it's been control. Like maybe we got the old machine like. I don't remember the great free from quality. Dark face, the old one. The dark face, like Ridora, stunning, and because it affects the opponent's next turn. It makes a big difference. I will be happy in the standard if you see something like that. That would be something I would be enjoying instead of what we have now. That is a big problem.
Which probably gives us a good transition to the next point, and probably the last point that we want to go over is the actual question is how premium and standard will affect the player base. And I will probably start off the discussion again with Jonas. How do you feel that this split of like we always had this one format that was played in, and now it's split up in two. How will that affect the player base exactly?
Well, I will say probably how it will affect the player is, well, depends on how they play actually, and what they maybe feel like still playing. For example, if one really likes maybe still playing Nubatama, but if the Nubatama is not like what it was used to be, then maybe they will maybe have a different opinion on it.
Yeah.
For example, for now, what I've seen was, since I really like to play Damage Blaze, and I saw how some of the new abilities was like. At first, when I saw a Super Damage Robo user, I thought he maybe had around the same skill. He did kinda, but it was still pretty good. And then as soon as Ultimate user, holy moly. Like, seriously, that was good.
Resetting turns are always fun.
Yeah, and then I haven't seen about Pelman yet. And the other, I did like, for example, see how Tazakala is because of the equipping
The
thing.
new mechanic.
Yeah, with the equipping thingy.
Soul Charger and Rear Guard.
The gouge.
Yeah, I think it's a really creative kind of a new thing
Yeah,
for them.
creative new way to play.
Since most of the thing they did was kind of like a Shadow Paladin a little
They
bit.
just use Shadow Paladin, cheap Shadow Paladin basically.
Yeah, so I kind of like the new way they were doing with it. And the gift cards, I must say, is an interesting little thing they put in.
Yeah.
I was a little bit surprised with some clans that got it, but then after I saw the rest of those clans in the same nation will get L's, I kind of understood it after that.
Yeah.
For premium though, I'm not sure. When are we able to like combine some of those new
Already
cards?
now.
Already now. It was confirmed in June.
Okay.
It came out last the Star Decks came out early June,
Yeah.
and that's where they split basically.
Yeah.
So that's also where you can introduce the new cards to the old cards. So
Yeah. Fair enough. I was just thinking if there was going to be premium.
people are already playing premium in local tournaments.
Yeah, but I meant like with the standard cards in premium.
Yeah.
I was just wondering when they will do that. That's the thing.
Yeah, right.
But then yeah, as you said, I would say it's an interesting thing as Bushiroad also told that you can play and create any deck you want.
Yeah.
And I really like that because since since I played Gear Chronicle, most players only played one specific build. I was okay with it, but still I felt like where's the creativity? I really wanted to try different things.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing I want.
Yeah.
Else, I will probably say as the last thing, I look forward to how it's going to turn out with the both formats in the future. On to the next person.
Yep, that's Asker.
About premium and standard. Honestly, I am really surprised they actually split up like this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I knew there was going to be a whole new thing like Stride, like there was Legion and Limit Break and Stride and such.
There was also a theory about cross-striding, where you combine 2 strides into 1.
Yeah. That would have just been dumb.
Yeah.
Braves P combined with another one that kind of like.
Yeah, but honestly, I actually liking this so far because right now, not only for the old players to like try experience with 2 different formats, if you don't like how the premium ended up, they could always try to start and redo new things. But I also feel like the problem was also with Vanguard, for at least the people I've tried at Siege. It was hard for beginners to actually understand that with strides and such.
But the G format.
Yeah. Also because.
But here with the standard format, I feel like it could be at least a little bit simpler because now you don't have to rely on like the G always. And then I feel like it'd be a safer way for beginners to actually go in and start the game.
That was also like the point for the standard.
Yeah.
Like standard format on their website.
Yeah.
So
it's easier for new people to play it.
Yeah, because of the timing and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's not every new player learns that.
Also, you don't have to buy any of the old cards.
Yeah.
And it's less expensive.
Yeah.
And Royal Paladin and Kakaro. I'm sorry, it's like old times. New starter. New starter deck.
Yeah, and it's the old guys coming back, like
Yeah.
OG guys coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But else, I'm looking forward to how this is going. Though I am hoping I hope with the way that Bushiroad actually have supplement these clans and how their support is going to be and during the years that they can actually all get the amount they will need, so each of them can blossom and get more creative as time goes on, without actually that be like a complete hierarchy like there has been in G. Because one thing I do believe that if you want to have a good format, you have to have some sort of creativity, and if one thing stands on the top for like a year, then it's going to be hard for people to like accept the game in certain ways, or at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Well, I have a lot of points, so I will probably pass this on to Jin and Joseph before I get to my points.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because my speech is very long.
Fair enough.
But yeah, as I said before, it's way cheaper to build. Oh, it's way cheaper to build like the best deck of a format. Right now, it's Oracle Think Tank. It costs like $150.
Yeah, I would say if you take it into euros, it's probably going to be around 180.
Yeah, it's still way
170
less
to
than
80.
like
Yeah.
it's still way less like Gize or even other.
Yeah, it's not like those 300, 400 euro or above decks.
That's just dumb. It's like $150 like or 180 euros. Like it's
Yeah.
an iron very good deck.
Yeah.
And then there's like, and they also announced that there will be one support wave per EU, which is good in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because that means like one clan will not get like support after support after support after support.
Gear Chronicle.
Gear Chronicle.
Yeah.
For example.
I really hated that. I had to when I played Gear Chronicle, I had to buy like 5 different boosters just to get.
Get every new support.
It really ruined my wallet, so I ended up stopping playing Gear Chronicle for a while.
Yeah.
So yeah.
it can be economically and in terms of creativity be lacking.
And also the new gifts. I do like how they work.
Yeah.
They add some spice to the game.
Yeah.
So it doesn't just go back to vanilla beat stick mode.
No,
Yeah.
because that will probably be a little bit boring.
That'll be way too boring.
And also considering how the all the way to the beginning was, because I was asking one player who actually played all the way from the beginning how the format was there,
Yeah.
and he literally says you just have to be lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also standard in my opinion takes a little bit, quite a bit of more skill. Because you're not digging through your deck specifically for specific cards.
Yeah.
So triggers will appear less, but they'll have more impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's my opinion on
Well, one of the things that I will be glad to maybe see is that you can run more. You have the option of getting more gimmicks. I think the game lacks a lot of maybe for some casuals if you just want to play for fun and have one of those dumb combos that only work 1 in a 10. But when you pull it off, you will always be happy.
Yeah.
I think
especially
the
if you
game.
beat a competitive player.
Oh.
Yeah. Because it does. I even thought of a geese Bermuda, and that was just because that it's just a gimmick.
No.
Not that it maybe will work. I will try to find anything around. But I think that gimmicks would be a pretty nice option to get.
No.
And I hope we can get that in the premium. And for the standard, one of the things we have to be glad about is that you don't have to, even though one deck is gonna be cheaper than the G, you can always have the option of go to a new deck easier and discover what you're going to play instead of having to throw so much money around to find out what you want.
Yeah.
And that was a problem that a lot of people experienced in the G era. And if it was so easy before the G era, because the G era in all the cards in the G zone cost so much. When we got that array, got rid of it in the premium, no, in the standard. I'm sorry. Yeah, the total cost got cut off so much. Nearly 50%, to be honest.
Maybe more.
More than 50%.
How do you feel about that each clan gets supported for 1 year
Once a
only?
year.
It's like a two-sided coin, to be honest. One side is that it's good to balance out the support, and you don't have to throw a lot of money in it. The other thing is that it has to be powerful enough to hold for a year. As an example of how we see it, it could be like Lured. When it came out and got support, it held it for so long, and even though when it didn't top, it was still a tier 1.5 deck. And what we just experienced recently is Dominate. It is such the power creep you talked about earlier. That's maybe one of the things we're going to experience, since we only get support once a year to clans. So it's like a two-sided coin, but I don't think Bushiroad will go so far to make these heavy game-changing, impactful cards. Because there were Ren is just one card that can make your opponent lose 5 cards. It's literally kind of dumb, to be honest.
I think they learned not to overpower everything over something else.
Yeah.
It's they don't. I don't think they want to focus to overpower each other decks. Just to make themselves stronger.
They make them maybe something a little bit more powerful.
Yeah. Doesn't it maybe even have to be more powerful? Just maybe the same way of power, just in another way. Maybe if they got more attacks. They got higher attacks or drawing, too. It doesn't have to be in the end you draw 20 cards or something. But that's just my opinion. But gimmicks would be pretty nice to be added in the game.
That would be really fun.
Also, one thing that's good for this game is that if you buy a standard, you can always just buy a little more, so you can equip it for the premium in terms of.
You need a lot more.
A lot.
So you don't have to throw your entire deck away. You can always kind of upgrade it or degrade it for the different eras.
You could also talk about how the clans, what people are expecting it to become compared to how it goes in the manga. But I'm not going to talk about that. I think that might be one of your topics to talk about.
Oh, not the manga.
That's the kind of words for a
Like, I don't really follow the manga, but mainly about this split in the format, because when I started, one thing that I was comfortable about was that I come from Duel Masters and Yu-Gi-Oh! And so forth, where you could have like one format and you use basically all the cards. But one thing I was really surprised about was that the battle list was not really like affecting like constantly. Like it wasn't constantly updating.
Yeah.
Like in Japan, it was constantly updating, but here in English, it wasn't really that much.
It was only. It was mostly just 2 free cards, right?
Like for example with Ripples, like it took ages before Ripples got like restricted here in English.
I don't think it actually took that long.
Like it took over like 2 months after.
Yeah, that's true.
But take it this way, like before that, it was those like 2 months. It was actually extremely broken with the new support. So they actually like go in and they had to like go into those different tournaments before actually they think, okay, we have to cut these guys a little.
At least it didn't take as long as what's it about TikTok and or whatnot.
Oh my god!
Oh,
Don't
yeah,
get me started with that. But because why I'm gonna say the ban list is because in Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic, they are more proficient about banning immediately. Like for example, in Magic, when they see before release date, they immediately ban a card.
Really?
If they deem it, nope, this is way too powerful. And 1 month after a card was released, like a burn deck, like seriously where you like slowly kill an opponent, in Magic, like when that in that tournament 1 month after, when like top 8, like 6 of them was running that card, it was like, ban it.
Let's get rid of it.
Yeah. Like them being more proficient and fast about it. That's one thing that I feel that I don't really like about it, about what the company does or what the designer does.
Yeah.
But the overall game, really cool. Now about this split about premium and standard, like already there you can reference to another game, Magic.
Yeah.
For example, you have something called standard. Then you have something called modern, but here
Modern is like everything, right?
yeah, modern is the last 25 sets, and there's a lot of sets in Magic.
Yeah.
But here in premium, you can basically say premium is the same as legacy.
Yeah.
Because you can basically use almost every card. But in standard, again, everything rotates and so forth. But with the constant change, you have to constantly like update the decks. You have to constantly be like, okay, what's the newest thing? Oh yeah, this new set is out. These cards are being out, and this means that these decks are not very powerful. These decks just rose in power level.
Yeah, I get that.
Like, yeah, we get the same sort of thing as in G era, but at least there's constant change. That's one thing about the standard that some people really like. Now premium, the same as legacy. If people have it and they can use it, they'll play it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really see why. Okay, this is another thing. Start a discussion about like Bushiroad trashing out premium format right away, because it has been confirmed by Bushiroad at a conference that they will support premium format until the end of time of Vanguard.
Yeah. Also, another proof of that, like in the the next booster, which is like the extra booster one. I don't remember the Sector 4, I think it's called. They're reprinting 3 strides for the premium because they were like very hard to get.
Which stripes was that?
It was Overwhelm. It was Dogma. And I don't remember what they did for. Right, it was Dirty Picaro, I do believe.
Okay.
3 very good strides.
Well, some of the most powerful strides in there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, Dogma was a 4 of. But Overwhelm was like 3 to 4 of.
At least 3.
Yeah, I don't
around
2 to 3 if anything.
Yeah, so basically about them supporting all this, it shows that Bushiroad is a company that knows that that people want to play their old cards. Like in Magic, they don't like trash everything else and say, yeah, this is only going to be a thing. When designers are designing a card, they don't design it just for one format. They actually consider all the formats.
And actually consider, like, in futuristic, interesting decks and such.
Yeah.
I mean, one example, like you remember, like in at the end of the Legion era,
I
we
didn't
thought,
actually play in Legion,
yeah, but
right?
at the end of the Legion
Oh, yeah.
era, and we began at the
The
strike.
G era.
There was at the end of the Legion
Yeah.
era, we began at the strikes. And it was not even like 2-1, maybe first and second booster. We already got a little bit rare and common support for the next. Yeah. So it's not like we're gonna focus so much on premium and stride and such, but I have a theory that at least there will come a little bit support. Maybe not to maybe shake the game itself, but at least so the decks can like have some different options.
Yeah, because because since we were in one format and all of a sudden we were introduced to this Legion thing, and then to introduce to Stride thing, people were not really preparing themselves properly, I would say, because it was mainly preparation from the player base that was not ready for all these like news. But since you have something called a standard format where you can have players get used to the changes, like for example, I played in standard tournaments in Magic. It's pretty cool. It just shows you, as Josef said, some gimmicks. It means that in standard you can pretty much do anything you want. Like you're inspired to play this deck or clan because you have heard that it's good, but it's like you can put your own flair to it. That's the thing.
And you can
Also Hearthstone. Always.
Also Hearthstone.
Hearthstone and Shadow.
And you can slowly build up
Yeah.
that deck as when they get support, just like in the start of the very first series. That's also a great thing about it.
Yeah. And premium again, it's just like if you really like it, like as Jonas said and as Asker said, like people really like reminiscing over old stuff. Like if you really like how the old let's say how the old Kagura was before they became what they are now in standard, then of course go for it. Because for me personally, I don't really know why there's so much hate about the splitting of these two formats, because it makes it makes total logic from a game state, business economy, and also from designers. Because if you take these 3 points, like designers, it means that they can think of like reprinting mostly old cards,
of course.
And make different projects.
but they can also consider like if people were using this in premium, how would it affect the game? And then also, is this also good in standard? Like those are really some decent questions to ask. And then you have it from a business standpoint, as Josef said, that sometimes a deck can cost like too much. For example, when I was when I started, I of course started with the most expensive deck at the time, Overlord. Like Dragonic Overlord, like that was a fun deck for my wallet.
And think about, for example, Messiah when they were really expensive.
Oh no.
Let's not.
Just imagine this, Revengeance.
Oh yeah.
Guess how much I had
Very
to
expensive.
like at the time. My total cost for Revengers was actually the highest one of all my decks, because I had some Legion, some special rarity and Legion rares and so forth.
How much did it cost you, if you remember?
In total, like the total value of the deck,
Yeah.
I would say around 7,000.
Damn.
And that was with only. and
Oh,
that-
that's in Kronos, right?
in Chrono, that would be around
Because-
900. Well,
Less than $900.
no,
Yeah.
A little less than 900.
a little less than no,
more than
that. I would say around 900 euros.
Yeah.
Around 900 euros, because it's like, holy fucking moly, that was like
These things are
when
expensive.
I looked up the price, because Overlord just barely took this second place with 6,200 at the highest.
Yeah.
Like you can see from that kind of causal perspective that when a deck becomes meta and very popular, it can go spike up to that height,
Yeah.
Yeah. I
to
remember.
almost like €1,000
Yeah.
deck.
But then again, you had like a lot of high rarity in there. You don't have to have that.
Yeah, I know, but it still shows the perspective of how high the cost can go.
Yeah.
I remember when I actually tried to start Bermuda for a little while. I was like, holy god, some of the really good cards. If I wanted to go for the higher rarity versions, I was like,
Yeah,
Boy, no.
Boy.
Though I was really surprised one time that I actually got one of the more expensive cards I had, which was when Olivia came out in the first time. I tried to open 6 displays, and I ended up getting an SP Olivia. I was so surprised that time, and I sold her.
Yeah.
Feels good, man.
Anyway,
I was actually thinking about two things. One was that there is a restriction list and a ban list on the premium, right?
Yep.
Yeah. There should be.
Yeah, there is.
Is it confirmed that it still gets updated?
It still gets updated, but it's not as frequent.
Okay.
Yeah,
Because
not
it's
gonna
like
happen.
almost like half-year interval or something.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
if anything, like becomes like way too powerful,
Yeah.
they probably will
For example,
take action.
it took them the Angel for the Stanger.
Refros.
Yeah.
How long did that take?
It came out in set 4, but it only like became like super broken
Yeah.
when Broken Heart was a thing, which came out in the same set, but
they didn't really think much
they
about the
didn't
set.
like back then. Age of Those was like not that good. Let's be honest.
Wasn't it just wasn't it because of no shield?
Yeah, no
Yeah,
shield.
after the No Shield Grade 3 came out.
Yeah, after the No Shield came out, like it's
It made Broken Heart and
Broken Heart, Refros Loop, Infinite Loop,
And
was
then
just
came like
stupid.
3 to 4, maybe more months of just like a meta where you see just one dominant deck because there's one broken combo.
I remember, for example, with Chronicle Time Leap, not Zodiac Time Leap, it's just Time Leap.
Oh yeah, the timely deck just like dominated half a year or more of that.
Pretty sure it was like a year or something.
Yeah.
Do you remember, for example, Asker, when I used it against you, you were against like 7, 8 attacks, which all of them was only, of course, 11 power mostly, or 16, but still annoying.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that the 2 guys who got hit didn't actually get hit until after, like close to where Zodiac was first released.
I think that's because they
No, even
won.
after that.
I don't know, but I think that since Zodiac Time Leap was not, one thing for sure was the combo with the Time Leap was really was pretty broken. But also, I think if they didn't ban them, then Zodiac Time Leaps will not get much attention.
Yeah.
In my overall opinion, don't hate on both formats. It's like they're there for a reason.
Yeah.
It's like hating on like people on bicycle and people in cars. Like what? Why would you hate them?
They pretty much just gave 2 rooms for each player, so like different players to play.
Yeah, exactly. It just gave 2 different formats. It's the same with Magic. Like in Magic, there are 7 different formats,
Yeah.
and people like the different formats. Like some people like Modern, some like Legacy, some like Standard, some like Commander, some like Draft. There's so many formats.
Welcome to the Vanguard community.
It's like just enjoy it.
Enjoy while it lasts.
Because people in Magic, they don't complain about people who play the different formats.
Yeah, and also
Because guess what? It's common courtesy to say, good for you, man.
It's like they might joke around with it, like
Yeah, joke around, but not like hate on it.
Yeah, I know.
I think Yu-Gi-Oh is the only one who doesn't have different formats, right?
Well, they do have different formats and just don't support them.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
But anyway, try and embrace it and be open about it. And of course, if some broken shit happen, then you can try to complain a little, like in every format. But be open about it. Be open and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say that this probably wraps up our experience of Berlin.
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Standard.
And also the end of the G era.
One hell of an
Yeah.
adventure.
I must say though, I really like the G-Era.
I did like it.
Good while lasted.
Yeah,
There was some ups and downs.
yeah.
Link
a little
Joker.
bit.
No, Lingjo. No. Lingjo were nothing. Gears after they
Gears.
after.
Say that to my inner hate.
So in all
Well, that's you.
in all conclusion is that Bushi should really watch out when they support a clan too much.
I really like, for example, also how they support some clans.
Yeah.
So sometimes I feel like some clans were a little bit not supported enough. For example,
Kumo feels bad, man.
We're going through that.
Yeah.
This is what I hope they'll do better.
For example, like in Legion era, I was hoping for like in Pelmon, that's just my opinion. I was hoping for different legions, but
Wasn't there only like 1 or 2?
there's only one.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, there's only one.
There's only
and it's
one.
a promo.
Yeah, it's a promo from when that came out in the G era.
Yeah, which was meh.
Not that good.
Yeah.
That's why I felt like I really love Pelmon, but since they didn't give much to the Legion part, I was kind of a little bit so sad about it.
Disappointed while at least.
Yeah, and I was hoping for maybe like a Beast Tamer one or something, maybe even something for like other things.
Or maybe even something like they did with Dragonic Overlord.
Yeah,
like a Legion revival where you Legion with another grade 3.
I was, for example, with maybe the really old Lakia, for example.
Yeah, for example, or maybe like, well, it's like the Venus or something.
But
yeah, maybe.
But I'll say we'll see to that point. Now, thanks for watching. It's been a really long video.
Yes.
Hopefully you survive it till then.
I'm gonna go
Cheers.
pass. I'm gonna go pass out on the couch.
And enjoy, folks.
Peace
Thanks.
out.
Peace.